In this video, I want to talk about how I'm going to be one of the 10,000 marathon runners who get this medal. And this conversation is relevant because I just got denied by the New York City Marathon Lottery for the second straight year. So we're just going to run it back for the next year and the next year and the year after that, because more people are running marathons than ever, and that means more people are applying for marathon lotteries, and it was only like a 2 to 3% acceptance rate, which kind of worries me because I have like 40 years roughly where I should be able to complete a marathon. So if I apply every year, that doesn't even guarantee that I get in, because I would need it to be at least like a 3% chance for me to basically statistically lock myself into the New York City Marathon. But if it's like 2 to 3%, I could be applying for 50 years and might never get in. That would be very bad luck, but you never know. So right now there's 6 marathon majors. It is going to 7 very soon with Sydney, and then eventually to 8 and 9. I'll just be talking about the 7 because we don't really know logistics for the 8 or 9. And there are some key assumptions that I'll be making when making this plan. One, I don't think I'm going to run faster than a 2:30 marathon ever in my life. I don't think I really want to proceed going out into that frontier and doing like 120 miles per week to get faster than a 2:30 marathon. So I think that's where I'll settle for my fastest time assumption. And then I'm also assuming I'm not some content creator with millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers that could just easily buy me into certain events with sponsors. So those are 2 key assumptions. And with that, we can start talking about my plan. I am a U.S. resident, and I'm planning on living in the United States for the rest of my life, so that's also, I guess, another key assumption. For Chicago and Boston, I am planning on getting this done very soon, hopefully as soon as the next year or the next 2 years, because I have to run a fast marathon for that, but not that fast, and I can technically run it anywhere. So it could be a course that cheats, like one of the Revel series that goes from 7,000 feet all the way down to 2,000 feet in one single race. I'm not doing that. I'm going on a course that is a little bit cheating, but not that much cheating. It's cheating just because I don't really want it to be this way, but it is legal. So for the Boston, I'm going to need around a 2:49 marathon. I could do that very soon. And then for Chicago, it's a 2:55 marathon. So that's how I'm planning on getting to those 2. For New York City, it's a little bit different. I am going to apply every year, but there's 2 other ways to do it. One is that if I ever move to New York City, which is possible, I'm not going to assume that I'm never going to move there. There's the 9+1 option, which is always pretty good. I mean, it gets you involved in 9 races, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons in New York City, and then just volunteer once, and you get guaranteed entry. So it's basically being like an active runner in your city, which I kind of do similar races in my hometown. Not as frequent, not like once a month, which basically that pans out to, but a couple times already. So if you're a New York City resident, that's super easy. The other way is that you can do a virtual marathon and then get a guarantee entry into the actual marathon. I don't think I'm going to do that. That doesn't really sound too enticing to me, just to run a marathon out of nowhere just by myself. Doesn't really quite hook me. But what does hook me, if I'm not getting into the lottery year after year, is for me to run a New York Roadrunners race, a half marathon specifically, and get the age time that gets me the automatic time entry for the marathon. So if I get a 1 hour and 21 minute half marathon, I automatically get a place into the New York City Marathon. There's no like additional Boston qualifier, because right now this is like the guess for the 2026 Boston Marathon time buffer. There's no buffer if you run a New York City Roadrunners race and then submit that. It's only for non-Roadrunners events and exclusively marathons now. And if I don't want to do that New York City Roadrunner half marathon time to get like that easy, I know what time I need to get, then place it, I could leave things up into the air, because this year you can start applying for the New York City non-guaranteed marathon entry under like 2 hours 52 minutes or 2 hours 53. And although I don't even have that time yet, that's an achievable time, but there's an additional buffer placed on that. And the buffer this year that just got announced was 13 minutes, so I would have had to run a 2:39:40 or faster to get guaranteed entry. Last year it was even larger, it was like 18 minutes. And with more people running, I imagine I'm going to have to run like a 2:35 to get guaranteed entry with just any regular marathon event applying for the New York City Marathon. It's possible, but that's right on my you're like super fast assumption zone. So that covers the US marathons. I really want to run New York City in my life. That to me is like the coolest marathon race out there. London also seems pretty legit, but I'm not a UK resident, so I haven't even been to London, so I don't even know all those places. But New York City, going through all 5 boroughs and those bridges and seeing that skyline, ooh, that would be special. Next up is Berlin, and this one, I think I probably should go the apply every year route or go the route of getting that time qualifier, because right now the time qualifier for my age group is 2 hours and 45 minutes. I think I'm probably going to achieve a marathon time faster than that if I want it. So that'll probably be the route I go. I won't go like a tour operator. And these tour operators, basically, you pay an exuberant fee. You do get like housing and food provided, but most of that fee is going to that guaranteed entry, not you actually getting the value in the stay. But that's what these tour operators are for international people. You just pay a bunch of money and you get guaranteed entry and then some side stuff added to that. Or I could raise money for a charity, and that's in between like 1,000 to 1,500 depending on the currency exchange. Then there's London, where I'm not even going to think about entering the lottery because we're approaching like 1 million people entering the lottery for like 20,000 places, and that those odds are even worse than the New York City odds I mentioned earlier. So I'm not even going to bother with the lottery until I see those numbers come down even a little bit, like maybe under 300,000. I'll start thinking about getting in with the lottery. And since I'm a non-UK resident, there is no hope for me for getting a time qualifying time because they don't even offer it. I would have to get like a 2:40 if I was in the UK, but I'm not moving to the UK. So for the London Marathon, since I'm not going to even attempt the ballots every year, I mean, I guess I could just to throw my name in the ring, but I won't get accepted. So I'm probably going to have to go a tour operator for that or a charity. But paying your way for those charities are like, that's like $2,000 to $3,000, so almost double that of Berlin. Oof, and that's pricey. And then once you get to that range, the tour operators are already like right there. And even though raising money for a charity is great, if I'm balling on a budget, then I probably want to go with the tour operator to get my housing included. And with the Tokyo Marathon, there's no way I'm going to run a 2:28 or faster, unless that's like my life goal and I'm unemployed. Unless I'm unemployed and running becomes my life, then I could see myself running at 2:28. But if I'm going to have a full-time job, there's no way I'm going to run a 2:28 as of right now in my future that I see. So that was one of the assumptions I said. So for Tokyo, and I really want to travel to Japan because with the Shinkansen and the culture there, some onigiri from 7-Eleven and those vending machines, Tokyo just really appeals to me as a traveling spot. So when I go to the Tokyo Marathon, I'm probably going to make it like 1 month of traveling, go up and down that whole coast of Japan, take the Shinkansen, climb Mount Fuji, make that a whole experience. And with that, you want to plan it around a certain date, so I'll probably have a guaranteed charity or tour operator spot and just spend a couple $1,000s on that. So I might be able to tick off 2 out of the 6 majors pretty quickly, but getting the last 4 out of 6 is probably going to take much longer than just those first 2. And for the newest edition, which will be lower on my priority list because even though the marathon majors are going to 9, they're going to keep the original 6-star medal, and I want that original 6-star medal. So Sydney's is lower on my priority, but since it just got added, the ballot has favorable odds, and I'm sure there's going to be charity and tour operator spots if I want to pay my way to it. But that really concludes the list on how I plan to get into marathon majors. It's basically Boston, Chicago, get that really soon with a pretty fast marathon time, but not the fastest. New York City Marathon, if I get super fast, then I get automatic entry. If not, I'll just keep on applying, basically. And then Berlin, hopefully I get really fast, or I just keep on applying every year. London, probably gonna have to pay my way through it. And Tokyo, probably gonna have to pay my way through it. That's how I really see it right now. And things could change year to year because qualifying standards are getting pushed back and forward, and we're figuring out how to allow more runners into these events because we just set the Guinness World Record for most marathon finishers last year with the New York City Marathon. So who knows what logistics might come into play and how many corrals we could stuff into a morning race. I got a lot of my info perfectly laid out for me from this running channel website post on how they say how to get to the marathon majors. They have one just for the time qualifiers for each of the marathons, and then they have one for just general information about the ballot and what they recommend. It's the easiest to get in. Pretty good website. I'll leave the link down below. And that's it for me here as I got rejected for the second straight year. We'll see how many years I could get rejected until I finally get accepted. Or I just run that super fast race.